The alarm didn't sound like much at first, just a soft beep that most people would ignore. But Jiwon knew better. She had been working at Outpost Sentinel-9 for 3 years, and she knew every sound the sensor array made. This beep was different. It was the kind that meant something was out there, something the system couldn't identify. She leaned forward in her chair, her fingers dancing across the holographic display. Numbers scrolled past her eyes, each one more confusing than the last. There was definitely something moving through space, and it was moving fast. Too fast. "Commander Hyunwoo," she called across the control room. Her voice was steady, but her heart was beating faster. "I need you to see this." Hyunwoo was a tall man with gray starting to show at his temples. He had served the Vralin Empire for 25 years, and very little surprised him anymore. But when he walked over to Jiwon's station and saw her screen, his expression changed. "What am I looking at?" he asked. "An object, moving at speeds that shouldn't be possible." Jiwon pulled up another display. "The sensors detected it about 10 minutes ago. At first I thought it was an error, but I've run 3 separate diagnostics. It's real." Hyunwoo studied the numbers. The object was moving at 12 times the speed of the fastest Vralin ship. That was impossible. The laws of physics didn't allow it. The best engines in the Empire, powered by dark matter cores that took decades to develop, couldn't come close to those speeds. "Could it be a natural phenomenon?" Hyunwoo asked. "A comet, or asteroid caught in some kind of gravitational slingshot?" Jiwon shook her head. "I thought that too, but look at the trajectory." She traced a line across the display with her finger. "It's not following any gravitational pull. It's moving in a straight line. And it's slowing down." That last part made Hyunwoo's blood run cold. Natural objects didn't slow down in the middle of space. Ships did. Ships with engines and pilots and intentions. "Run it through the database," he ordered. "Every ship signature we have on file, every species, every known vessel type." Jiwon was already doing it. The Vralin Empire had been the dominant power in this region of the galaxy for 300 years. They had encountered and cataloged over 10,000 different species. Their database was the most comprehensive in known space. If this object matched anything they had ever seen, the computer would find it. The search took 90 seconds. 90 seconds of silence in the control room as everyone waited. When the computer finished, it displayed a single word on the screen. "Unknown." "That's not possible," said Sumi from the communications station. She had been listening to the whole conversation. "We know everything in this sector, everything." "Apparently not," Jiwon said quietly. Hyunwoo straightened up. His training kicked in, pushing away the confusion and fear. "I'm contacting Fleet Command. Sumi, send them everything we have. All sensor data, all projections. Mark it as Priority 1. "Yes, Commander," Sumi said, her fingers already working. Hyunwoo walked to his private office and activated the long-range communicator. It took a few minutes for the connection to establish. When Admiral Daesung's face appeared on the screen, he looked annoyed at being disturbed. "This better be important, Commander," the Admiral said. "Sir, we've detected an unknown vessel entering our space. Its speed exceeds anything in our records by a factor of 12. We have no data on its origin or design." Admiral Daesung's annoyed expression didn't change. "Unknown vessel? Commander, do you know how many sensor ghosts we get reported every month? How many false readings?" "This isn't a false reading, sir. We've confirmed it multiple times, and it's on a course directly toward the core worlds." That got the Admiral's attention. His eyes narrowed. "Directly toward the core worlds? You're certain?" "Yes, sir. If it maintains its current trajectory and speed, it will reach the outer colonies in approximately 72 hours. There was a long pause. Hyunwoo could see the Admiral thinking, weighing the possibilities. Finally, Daesung spoke. "Send me everything you have. I'll review it and determine if this warrants a full alert. In the meantime, continue monitoring. If anything changes, contact me immediately." "Understood, sir." The connection ended. Hyunwoo sat in his chair, staring at the blank screen. He had expected more urgency from the Admiral, but maybe Daesung was right to be cautious. The Empire, had stood for centuries precisely because it didn't panic at every unusual reading. He returned to the control room. Jiwan was still at her station watching the object's progress. It had slowed down even more now, but it was still moving faster than anything they had ever seen. "How long until we can get visual confirmation?" Hyunwoo asked. "At its current speed and trajectory, maybe 18 hours, Jiwan answered. "But Commander, there's something else." "What?" "The energy signature. I've been analyzing it while you were talking to the Admiral. It doesn't match any known power source. Not dark matter, not antimatter, not fusion. It's something completely different." Hyunwoo felt a chill run down his spine. In all his years of service, he had seen many strange things. But this was different. This was genuinely unknown. And unknown meant dangerous. "Keep analyzing it," he said. "I want to know everything we can learn before that thing gets any closer." The hours passed slowly. The rest of the crew at Outpost Sentinel-9 went about their duties, but everyone kept glancing at Jiwan's station. Word had spread quickly. Something was coming, something they had never seen before. Hyunwoo barely slept that night. He stayed in the control room, drinking coffee and watching the displays. The object continued its approach, steady and unwavering. Other outposts along the border began reporting the same readings. Whatever this thing was, it wasn't hiding. It was coming right at them. By morning, Admiral Dae-sung contacted them again. This time, his face was serious. "Commander, I've reviewed your data. I've also received reports from 4 other outposts. This is real and it's big. I'm issuing a silent alert to all border stations. No public announcement yet. We don't want to cause panic." "What are your orders, sir?" "Continue monitoring. I'm dispatching a diplomatic team and an interceptor fleet. If this is a first contact situation, we'll handle it properly. If it's a threat, we'll be ready." "And if it's something else entirely?" Hyunwoo asked. Admiral Dae-sung paused. "Then we'll deal with it. The Vralin Empire has survived for 3 centuries because we're prepared for anything. This won't be any different." But as Hyunwoo watched the unknown vessel continue its impossible journey through space, he wasn't so sure. Something about this felt different. It felt like the universe was about to change, and there was nothing any of them could do to stop it. Jiwan's voice broke through his thoughts. "Commander, the object is slowing down again. Significantly this time." "How significantly?" "It's decelerating at a controlled rate, like it's preparing to stop." She looked up at him, her eyes wide. "Like it knows exactly where it wants to go." Hyunwoo stared at the screen, at the dot representing something from beyond their understanding. Whatever was coming, whatever was piloting that vessel, it had crossed the impossible distance between stars, and now it was coming to them. The Empire was about to learn that they were not alone, and more importantly, they were not the most advanced civilization in the galaxy. Not anymore. The High Council chamber was a massive circular room with walls made of polished stone. 12 seats arranged in a circle, each one occupied by the most powerful figures in the Vralin Empire. They rarely met in person like this. The fact that they had all gathered meant the situation was serious. Ambassador Minji stood in the center of the circle. She was younger than most of the council members, but she had earned her position through intelligence and careful diplomacy. Today, however, she felt out of her depth. "The vessel continues its approach," she said, her voice echoing in the chamber. "We have confirmed it is not from any known civilization in our database. Its technology appears to be far beyond our current capabilities." General Taemin, a broad-shouldered man with scars on his face from decades of military service, slammed his fist on the armrest of his chair. "Then we must respond with force. We cannot allow an unknown power to simply enter our space without consequence." "We don't know their intentions," Minji countered. "They have made no hostile moves. No weapons fire, no threatening communications. For all we know, this could be an explorer or a refugee. Or a scout," General Taemin shot back, "surveying our defenses before their main fleet arrives. We should intercept and neutralize the threat now while we still can." Dr. Yuna, the Empire's lead xenobiologist, raised her hand. She was a small woman with sharp eyes that missed nothing. "If I may speak? I've been analyzing the energy signatures from this vessel. The technology is fascinating. If we destroy it, we lose an incredible opportunity to learn. Learn what? General Taemin asked. How they plan to conquer us? Or how they achieved such advanced propulsion, Dr. Yuna replied calmly. This vessel moves at speeds we considered impossible. If we could understand even a fraction of their technology, it would advance our civilization by decades, perhaps centuries. Supreme Chancellor Inho, who had been silent until now, leaned forward in his seat. He was an old man, but his mind was still sharp. Both positions have merit. We must be cautious, but we must also be open to possibilities. I propose a middle path. We send our fastest interceptor fleet to meet this vessel. They will attempt communication. If the vessel proves hostile, they will engage. If not, we begin diplomatic protocols. There were murmurs of agreement around the circle. It was a compromise, which meant nobody was completely happy. But it was better than doing nothing. Who will command the interceptor fleet? Minji asked. Captain Jiho, the Chancellor said. He's our best pilot and a level-headed officer. If anyone can handle first contact, it's him. The decision was made. Within hours, 3 of the Empire's fastest cruisers launched from the nearest military station. Captain Jiho stood on the bridge of the lead ship, the Valiant Dawn, watching the stars streak past as they accelerated to maximum speed. How long until intercept? He asked his navigation officer. Approximately 6 hours, Captain. We're pushing the engines as hard as we can, but that vessel is still faster than us. Jiho nodded. He was a calm man, trained to stay composed in any situation. But he had to admit, this situation was unlike anything he had trained for. The Empire had been the dominant power for so long that meeting an equal, or possibly a superior, was almost unthinkable. Prepare all communication systems, he ordered. Every frequency we have. When we get close enough, I want to try every method of contact simultaneously. Yes, Captain. The hours passed. The crew worked efficiently, running drills and preparing for any possibility. Jiho stood at the forward window watching space. Somewhere out there was something new, something unknown. The thought both excited and terrified him. Captain, we're approaching the projected intercept point, the navigation officer announced. All ships, slow to cruising speed. Activate scanning arrays. I want to see this thing before we get too close. The 3 ships slowed, their sensors reaching out into space. And then nothing. The area was empty. Where is it? Jiho demanded. The sensor operator checked and rechecked his readings. I don't understand, Captain. According to our calculations, the vessel should be right here, but I'm not picking up anything. Could it have changed course? Checking now. The operator's face went pale. Captain, I'm detecting the vessel. It's behind us. Behind us? How is that possible? It must have accelerated past us while we were in transit. Sir, it's already past our intercept point. It's continuing toward the core worlds. Jiho felt his stomach drop. They had pushed their engines to maximum, traveled at speeds that would have impressed anyone in the Empire just yesterday, and this unknown vessel had simply gone around them like they were standing still. Pursuit course, he ordered. Full speed. The Valiant Dawn and its sister ships turned and accelerated again. But it was useless. They couldn't catch up. The unknown vessel maintained its lead effortlessly. Captain, we're receiving a transmission, the communications officer said suddenly. Everyone on the bridge went silent. This was it. First contact. Put it through. Jiho said. There was a moment of static and then a voice. It spoke in perfect Verlan with no accent, no hesitation. The words were clear and simple. We mean no harm. We seek only passage and information. Jiho exchanged glances with his officers. After a moment, he responded. This is Captain Jiho of the Vralan Imperial Fleet. You have entered sovereign Vralan space without authorization. Please identify yourself and state your intentions. The response came immediately. We are from a world called Earth. We are explorers. We did not know this space was claimed. We apologize for any intrusion. Earth. The name meant nothing to Jiho or anyone in the database. A completely unknown civilization. You say you are explorers, Jiho said carefully. How many of you are aboard your vessel? There was a pause. Then the voice replied, One. A single being, piloting a ship that outperformed everything the Vralan Empire had ever built. The implications were staggering. We request permission to meet, the voice continued. We can dock at a location of your choosing. We wish to exchange information and establish peaceful relations. Jiho knew this decision was above his authority. Please hold your position. I must consult with my superiors. Understood. We will wait. The transmission ended. Jiho immediately contacted Admiral Dae Sung, who contacted the High Council. Within minutes, the word came back. The vessel would be allowed to dock at Station Meridian, a neutral diplomatic hub far from any major population center. If this was a trick, the damage would be contained. Unknown vessel, you are cleared to dock at Station Meridian. Coordinates are being transmitted now. You will be met by diplomatic and security personnel. Thank you, Captain. We will proceed to the station. And Captain, please tell your people there is no need for fear. We truly come in peace. The transmission ended. Jiho watched as the unknown vessel changed course, heading toward Station Meridian. It moved with such precision, such control. Whatever these humans from Earth were, they were far more advanced than the Empire wanted to admit. Back at the High Council chamber, Ambassador Minji prepared herself. She would lead the diplomatic team to Station Meridian. Dr. Yuna would accompany her, along with a full security detail led by General Taiman's most trusted officers. As she boarded the transport ship, Minji felt the weight of history on her shoulders. The Vralan Empire had encountered many species over the centuries. They had fought wars, formed alliances, and established trade. But always they had been the stronger party. Always they had been in control. This time felt different. This time they were meeting someone who might be their equal. Or worse, their superior. The transport ship launched, heading toward Station Meridian. Somewhere ahead, a human waited. A single explorer from a world nobody had ever heard of, piloting technology that shouldn't exist. The Empire was about to learn something new. And Minji suspected that whatever they learned would change everything. Station Meridian was built for meetings like this. It floated in neutral space, far from any planet or major installation. The station was shaped like a wheel, with docking ports around the rim and a central hub for conferences and negotiations. It had hosted peace talks, trade agreements, and cultural exchanges for over a century, but nothing like this. Ambassador Minji stood in the observation deck, watching through the transparent walls as the human vessel approached. She had expected something massive, something that matched the incredible power readings they had detected. Instead, the ship was small, barely larger than a Vralan scout vessel. How could something so small move so fast? It's docking now, Dr. Yuna said beside her. The scientist had barely looked away from her datapad since they arrived, analyzing every scrap of information about the vessel. What have you learned? Minji asked. Not as much as I'd like, Yuna admitted. The ship's hull is made of materials I don't recognize. The energy signature suggests some kind of hybrid power system, but I can't identify the specifics. And the propulsion system is completely beyond me. It's like nothing in our theoretical models. A security officer approached them. His name was Tae-hyun, and he was handsome in his crisp uniform, but his face was tense. Ambassador, the human has exited the vessel. He's proceeding to the docking airlock now. Just one? Minji asked, though she already knew the answer. Just one, ma'am. Minji straightened her diplomatic robes and walked toward the docking area. Dr. Yuna and the security team followed. Her heart was beating fast, but she kept her expression calm and professional. First impressions mattered in diplomacy, perhaps more than anything else. The airlock door opened with a hiss of equalizing pressure. For a moment, there was only darkness inside. Then a figure stepped forward into the light. The human was male. That much was clear from his build and features. He was slightly shorter than the average Vralan, with dark hair and eyes. His skin was a medium tone, and his features were different from any species Minji had seen before. He wore a simple flight suit, dark blue with some kind of patch on the shoulder. But what struck Minji most was his smile. It was warm and genuine, without any hint of threat or superiority. He raised one hand in what appeared to be a greeting gesture. Hello, he said in perfect Vralan. My name is Donghyun. Thank you for allowing me to dock. Minji bowed slightly, a gesture of respect in Vralan culture. Welcome to Station Meridian. I am Ambassador Minji. This is Dr. Yuna and Security Chief Tae-hyun. We represent the Vralan Empire. Donghyun bowed back, copying the gesture perfectly. It's an honor to meet you. I apologize if my arrival caused any concern. I've been traveling for a long time and I didn't realize this region of space was inhabited. You've been traveling alone? Dr. Yuna asked, unable to contain her curiosity. Not entirely alone, Donghyun said with another smile. I have Nari. He tapped something on his wrist and a holographic figure appeared beside him. It was a feminine form made of blue light with a pleasant face. Nari is my ship's artificial intelligence. She's been my companion for this journey. Hello, the AI said, her voice pleasant and melodic. It's nice to meet other intelligent beings. Donghyun gets lonely sometimes. I do not, Donghyun protested. But he was still smiling. Minji felt some of her tension ease. This human seemed friendly, almost disarmingly so, but she reminded herself to stay cautious. Appearances could be deceiving. Perhaps we should move to a conference room, she suggested. We have many questions and I'm sure you do as well. That sounds perfect, Donghyun agreed. They walked through the station's corridors to a large conference room with a table and comfortable chairs. Once everyone was seated, Minji began the formal process of first contact. Donghyun of Earth, the Vralan Empire, welcomes you as our first contact with your species. We wish to establish peaceful relations and exchange knowledge. To begin, can you tell us about your world and your people? Donghyun leaned back in his chair, seeming relaxed. Earth is a planet in a star system about 40 light-years from here. We have 1 moon and 8 sibling planets. Our world is mostly water, with several large land masses. The current population is about 11 billion humans. Dr. Yuna's eyes widened. 11 billion? On a single world? Yes, we're pretty crowded, Donghyun said with a slight laugh. That's one reason we started exploring space. We needed more room, more resources, and honestly, we were curious about what else was out there. How long has your species been capable of interstellar travel? Minji asked. About 80 years. We developed the first faster-than-light drive in what you would call the year 2045. It took us a while to perfect it, but we got there eventually. 80 years. The Vralans had taken over 600 years to achieve interstellar flight. Minji exchanged a glance with Dr. Yuna, who looked equally shocked. That seems remarkably fast, Minji said carefully. How did you achieve such rapid advancement? Donghyun's expression grew more serious. Necessity, mostly. Humans have a complicated history. We spent a long time fighting each other. Wars, conflicts, terrible weapons. We almost destroyed ourselves several times. But we learned. We realized that if we didn't work together, we wouldn't survive. So we did. We put aside our differences and focused on advancing together. You fought among yourselves? Taehyun asked. Wars between your own kind? Yes, thousands of them over our history. It's not something we're proud of, but it's part of who we are. We're a violent species in many ways, but we're also capable of great compassion and cooperation. We had to learn to balance both sides of our nature. The room was silent for a moment. Minji tried to process what she was hearing. A species that admitted to internal warfare, yet had somehow unified and advanced faster than any civilization the Vralans had encountered. Your ship, Dr. Yuna said, changing the subject. How does it move so fast? What kind of power source does it use? Donghyun brightened at the technical question. The Horizon's Dawn uses a quantum fusion hybrid drive. It's complicated, but basically we combine quantum entanglement principles with controlled fusion reactions. It allows us to manipulate space-time in ways that conventional engines can't. Quantum entanglement? Yuna pulled out her datapad, making notes frantically. That's purely theoretical for us. We've never been able to make it work on a practical scale. It took us a while too, Donghyun said. But once we figured out how to stabilize the quantum field, the rest came together. Nari, can you send them the basic principles? Nothing classified, just the foundational theory. Sending now, Nari's holographic form said. Dr. Yuna's datapad lit up with incoming data. Her eyes went wide as she read. This is incredible. This could revolutionize everything we know about physics. Counselor Kyung-soo, who had been silent until now, finally spoke. He was an older Vralan with suspicious eyes. You're very willing to share your technology. Why? Donghyun looked at him directly. Because knowledge should be shared. That's another thing we learned on Earth. When we kept secrets from each other, it led to mistrust and conflict. When we shared openly, we all advanced together. I don't see why it should be different with other species. But surely you must have military concerns, Kyung-soo pressed. If you share your technology, it could be used against you. Possibly, Donghyun admitted. But we believe the risk is worth it. Besides, we're not defenseless. Earth has a fleet and our ships are well armed. But we prefer to make friends rather than enemies. It's easier and honestly more interesting. Minji watched Kyung-soo's face darken. She knew what he was thinking. This human was admitting that Earth had military capabilities, possibly significant ones. That made them a potential threat. Can you tell us where Earth is located? Minji asked. So we can send our own diplomatic mission? Dong-hyun hesitated for the first time. I can, but I need to discuss it with Earth first. I've been out here for months, traveling far from home. I need to report back and get authorization before I reveal our exact location. I hope you understand. Of course, Minji said, though she noticed Kyung-soo looked even more suspicious. They talked for several more hours. Dong-hyun shared stories about Earth, about human culture and history. He showed them images of his world, beautiful and diverse, filled with life. He talked about human art and music, about their dreams and hopes for the future. But as the conversation continued, Minji couldn't shake a growing unease. This human seemed genuine and kind, but he represented a civilization that had advanced incredibly fast, that admitted to being violent, and that had military capabilities they couldn't even guess at. When the meeting finally ended, Dong-hyun was escorted to guest quarters. Tae-hyun and his security team kept watch outside. Minji, Yuna, and Kyung-soo gathered in a private room to discuss what they had learned. He's hiding something, Kyung-soo said immediately. No one shares technology that freely unless they have something to hide. Or unless they're genuinely peaceful, Yuna countered. Everything he said makes sense. A species that nearly destroyed itself would want to avoid conflict with others. Or they're preparing to conquer us and want us to lower our guard, Kyung-soo argued. Minji held up her hand for silence. We need more information before we make any judgments. For now, Dong-hyun is our guest. We will treat him with respect and hospitality. But we will also remain cautious. Engineer Woo Jin had been working on analyzing the human ship for 3 days straight. He barely slept, barely ate. The technology was so far beyond anything he had seen that he felt like a child trying to understand advanced mathematics. But slowly, piece by piece, he was learning. And what he was learning terrified him. He rushed into Supreme Chancellor In-ho's office without even waiting to be announced. The guards tried to stop him, but Woo Jin pushed past them. Chancellor, we have a problem, he said, breathing hard. In-ho looked up from his desk, annoyed at the interruption. But when he saw Woo Jin's face pale and sweating, his expression changed. What is it? The human ship. I've been analyzing its systems. Chancellor, it has weapons. Extremely advanced weapons. In-ho stood up slowly. Weapons? What kind? Directed energy systems, kinetic accelerators, and something I can't even identify. But based on the power signatures, any one of those weapons could destroy one of our cruisers with a single shot. Maybe more than one. The Chancellor's face went hard. Are they active? No, they're in standby mode. But they could be activated in seconds. Chancellor, I also found defensive systems. Energy shields that could withstand sustained fire from an entire fleet. This ship isn't just fast. It's a weapon of war. In-ho sat back down heavily. And the human claimed he was just an explorer? Either he lied, or Earth's explorers travel very well armed. Within an hour, the High Council was convened in emergency session. This time they met virtually, their faces appearing on holographic displays around the circle. Dong-hyun was not invited. General Taimin spoke first, his voice angry. This human has been lying to us from the start. He claimed to come in peace, but his ship is designed for war. We should detain him immediately and interrogate him about Earth's true intentions. We don't know that he lied, Ambassador Minji protested. Perhaps Earth's ships are simply well defended. That doesn't mean they have hostile intentions. Or, perhaps they're planning an invasion and sent a scout to assess our defenses, Counselor Kyung-soo said. Think about it. One ship piloted by one human with technology far beyond ours. What if this is just the beginning? What if there are fleets of ships like this waiting to strike? Dr. Yuna shook her head. You're letting fear cloud your judgment. Yes, the human ship is advanced. Yes, it has weapons. But Dong-hyun has been nothing but cooperative. He's shared information freely. That's not the behavior of an enemy. It's the behavior of someone trying to make us lower our guard, Kyung-soo countered. Supreme Chancellor In-ho raised his hand for silence. Bring the human in for questioning. We will ask him directly about these weapons. If his answers are satisfactory, we will continue diplomatic relations. If not, we will take appropriate action. Ambassador Minji felt her stomach sink. She knew what appropriate action meant. It meant Dong-hyun would be detained, possibly imprisoned, and Earth would see it as a hostile act. Dong-hyun was brought to an interrogation room. It was a cold, gray space with a metal table and uncomfortable chairs, not the warm conference room from before. The message was clear. General Tae-min sat across from him, with Minji and several armed guards standing nearby. Dong-hyun looked confused but not frightened. "Is something wrong?" he asked. "Did I do something to offend you? Your ship has weapons," Tae-min said bluntly. "Very powerful weapons. Yet you claim to be a peaceful explorer. Explain." Dong-hyun's expression cleared. "Oh, you scanned the horizon's dawn. Yes, she has weapons. All Earth ships do." "Why?" Tae-min demanded. "If you come in peace, why bring weapons?" "Because space is dangerous," Dong-hyun said simply. "There are pirates, rogue asteroids, spatial anomalies. We learned early on that exploration ships need to be able to defend themselves. The weapons are there for protection, not aggression." "Protection," Tae-min said skeptically. "According to our analysis, your weapons could destroy our most powerful warships." "Could they?" Dong-hyun seemed genuinely surprised. "I'm not a military officer, so I don't know all the technical details. But yes, Earth takes ship defense seriously. We lost several early exploration vessels to various threats. We don't want to lose any more." "And if we see these weapons as a threat?" Tae-min asked coldly. "What then?" Dong-hyun met his gaze steadily. "Then you would be making a mistake. I'm not here to threaten anyone. Neither is Earth. We want to make friends, to share knowledge, to explore together. But if you attack me, I will defend myself. That's my right." The room went silent. Minji saw Tae-min's jaw clench. The human had just made a veiled threat, whether he realized it or not. "How many ships does Earth have?" Tae-min asked. "I don't know the exact number. Hundreds, maybe thousands. It's not classified information, I just don't keep track. I'm an explorer, not a military strategist." "And are they all as powerful as yours?" Dong-hyun hesitated. "Most exploration ships are similar to mine. Military vessels are probably more advanced. Again, I'm not an expert on military matters." Tae-min stood up abruptly. "You're being detained for security purposes. You'll remain here until we determine how to proceed." "Wait," Dong-hyun said, standing as well. "You can't detain me. I've done nothing wrong. You entered our space without authorization. You concealed the military nature of your vessel, that's enough." Tae-min gestured to the guards. "Take him to a holding cell." "This is a mistake," Dong-hyun said, his voice rising. "Earth will not take this well. I was sent as an ambassador of peace. If you imprison me, they'll see it as an act of hostility." "Then perhaps Earth should have sent someone who was honest from the beginning," Tae-min said coldly. As the guards led Dong-hyun away, Minji felt a deep sense of dread. This was going wrong, badly wrong. She caught up with Tae-min in the corridor. "General, this is a mistake. We're turning a potential ally into an enemy." "That human represents a threat to the Empire," Tae-min said. "If Earth has hundreds of ships, like his, with weapons that can destroy our fleets, we're in danger. We need to act before they do." "Act how?" Minji demanded. Tae-min looked at her coldly. "I'm recommending to the Chancellor that we launch a preemptive strike on Earth. Destroy their shipyards, their military capabilities, before they can use them against us." Minji felt her blood run cold. "You can't be serious. We don't even know where Earth is." "We'll make the human tell us, one way or another." Tae-min walked away, leaving Minji standing in the corridor. She had to do something. But what? The Empire was about to start a war with a species they knew almost nothing about, a species that might be far more powerful than they realized. In the holding cell, Dong-hyun sat on a hard bench, his head in his hands. Nari's holographic form appeared beside him. "This is not going well," she said quietly. "No kidding," Dong-hyun muttered. "I tried to be honest, to be friendly, and now they're treating me like an enemy. Should I send a distress signal to Earth?" Dong-hyun thought for a long moment. "Yes. Let them know what's happening, but tell them not to come in weapons hot. We don't want to start a war. What if they already have? Dong-hyun had no answer for that. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Hana had been assigned to guard the human's cell. She stood outside, watching him through the observation window. He looked sad and tired, not dangerous. She had listened to his conversations with Nari, and nothing she heard sounded like a threat. She thought about her orders, about the Empire's response to this situation, and for the first time in her career she questioned whether her superiors were making the right choice. That night she made a decision. She contacted Ambassador Minji through a secure channel. "Ambassador, I need to speak with you. It's about the human." Minji arrived within minutes. They met in a private room, away from security monitors. "What is it, Lieutenant?" "I've been guarding Dong-hyun. I've listened to his conversations with his AI. Ambassador, I don't think he's a threat. I think he's exactly what he claims to be, an explorer who got caught in something bigger than himself." "I believe you," Minji said. "But the Council has made their decision. General Tae-min is planning a military strike on Earth." Hana's eyes widened. "That's insane. If Earth is as advanced as we think, we could be starting a war we can't win." "I know, but I don't have the authority to stop it." "Then we need to get that human out of here," Hana said. "Let him go back to his ship and return to Earth. Give him a chance to explain the situation to his people before the fleet arrives." Minji stared at her. "That would be treason. We'd both be executed if caught." "I know," Hana said quietly. "But I joined the military to protect the Empire. I think the biggest threat to the Empire right now is its own leadership. If we attack Earth unprovoked, we become the villains, and we might destroy ourselves in the process." Minji was silent for a long time. Then she nodded slowly. "All right, but we need to move fast. The fleet could launch within hours." Together, they began to plan. A jailbreak, a desperate attempt to prevent a war. Neither of them knew if it would work, but they had to try, because the alternative was too terrible to consider. The alarm started at exactly 3 in the morning, station time. A controlled fire in the waste processing section, far from the holding cells. Nothing serious, just enough to pull security personnel away from their posts. Lieutenant Hana moved quickly through the corridors. She had the access codes, the security clearances. Within minutes she reached Dong-hyun's cell. "What's happening?" he asked when the door opened. No time to explain. "We're getting you out of here. Come on." Dong-hyun didn't hesitate. He followed Hana through the empty corridors, with Nari's hologram flickering beside them. Ambassador Minji was waiting at the docking bay. "Your ship is ready," she said. "Go now before they realize what's happening." "Why are you doing this?" Dong-hyun asked. "Because war with Earth would be a disaster for both our peoples," Minji said. "Go back to your world. Tell them what happened. Tell them the Vreelan Empire is not unified in this decision. Some of us still want peace." Dong-hyun nodded. "I will, thank you." He looked at Hana. "Both of you." He ran to his ship, the Horizon's Dawn. Within seconds, the engines powered up. The docking clamps released, and the small vessel shot into space with incredible acceleration. Alarms blared through Station Meridian. General Taemin's voice roared over the communication system. "All ships intercept that vessel. Do not let it escape." But it was too late. The Horizon's Dawn was already gone, moving faster than any pursuing ship could follow. Minji and Hana stood in the docking bay waiting. Within minutes, security forces arrived and arrested them both. They didn't resist. General Taemin arrived soon after, his face red with anger. "You've committed treason. You've endangered the entire Empire." "We've prevented a war," Minji said calmly. "One you would have lost." "We'll see about that," Taemin snarled. "The fleet launches in 1 hour. We'll reach Earth before that human does." But Taemin was wrong. Dong-hyun had a head start, and the Horizon's Dawn was the fastest ship in known space. He reached Earth 3 days before the Vreelan fleet arrived. Earth's capital, located in the rebuilt city of New Seoul, received his message with shock. The planetary government convened immediately. Military commanders were called in. Defense fleets were mobilized, but when Dong-hyun stood before the Earth Council and explained everything that had happened, they made a surprising decision. "We will not fire first," said President Sang-hee, an elderly woman with kind eyes and a steel spine. "If the Vrallans come in peace, we will meet them peacefully. If they come for war, we will defend ourselves. But we will not be the aggressors." "They're bringing 200 warships," Dong-hyun said. "They might not give us a choice." "There's always a choice," the president replied. When the Vrallan fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of Earth's solar system, they found 50 human vessels waiting for them, not in attack formation but in a neutral stance. Weapons powered down, shields at minimum, Admiral Dae-sung stood on the bridge of his flagship, staring at the view screen. He had expected defenses, fortifications, maybe even a desperate attack. "Not this. They're hailing us," the communications officer said. "Put it through." A human face appeared on the screen. He was an older man with gray hair and a calm expression. He wore a military uniform with insignia that suggested high rank. "I am Admiral Jin Woo of the Earth Defense Fleet. Welcome to our solar system. We understand there has been a misunderstanding between our peoples. We wish to resolve this peacefully." Dae-sung was caught off guard. "You know why we're here. Your vessels are a threat to the Vrallan Empire." "Our vessels are designed for exploration and defense," Jinwoo replied. "We have no interest in conquering your empire or anyone else. We have brought our ships here not to fight, but to demonstrate our willingness to talk." "Then why are your ships so heavily armed?" Dae-sung demanded. "Because we've learned that the universe can be dangerous. We lost ships early in our exploration. Good people who died because they couldn't defend themselves. We vowed never to let that happen again, but having weapons and using them aggressively are two different things." General Tae-min, who was also on the flagship, stepped forward. "You expect us to believe you're peaceful? Your technology is far beyond ours. You could destroy us if you wanted to." "We could," Jinwoo admitted. "But we don't want to." "Look at your sensors, General. Our weapons are powered down. Our shields are at minimum. We're completely vulnerable right now. Does that seem like the action of an aggressive species?" Dae-sung checked his displays. It was true. The human fleet was essentially defenseless. One order and his ships could destroy them all. But why would they do that unless they were genuinely peaceful? "We would like to invite you to visit Earth," Jinwoo continued. "See our world, meet our people. Let us show you who we really are. Not through words, but through actions." Dae-sung looked at Tae-min. The general's face was conflicted. This wasn't what he had expected either. "It could be a trap," Tae-min said quietly. "If they wanted to trap us, they could have jumped us the moment we arrived," Dae-sung replied. "We were vulnerable during the emergence from FTL. They didn't attack." Dr. Yuna, who had accompanied the fleet, spoke up from her station. "Admiral, I'm reading massive manufacturing centers throughout this system. Shipyards, industrial platforms, resource processing facilities, but also cities, agricultural stations, research centers. This is a civilization focused on building, not destroying." Dae-sung made his decision. "We accept your invitation, Admiral Jinwoo, but we're keeping our fleet on alert." "That's completely understandable," Jinwoo said. "We would do the same in your position." Over the next 72 hours, delegations from the Vrallan fleet visited Earth. They saw cities full of diverse humans living in peace. They saw schools where children learned about other species with curiosity, not fear. They saw museums dedicated to human history, including the wars and conflicts that had nearly destroyed them. "We don't hide our past," explained one human guide. "We were violent and destructive, but we grew beyond that. We learned that cooperation is stronger than conflict." Dr. Yuna spent hours at human research facilities, exchanging information with Earth scientists. She learned about quantum physics, neural interfaces, genetic engineering, and in return she shared Vrallan knowledge of dark matter manipulation and long-range sensors. "This is incredible," she said to one researcher named Jae-sung. "You've accomplished in decades what took us centuries." "We had motivation," Jae-sung replied. "We almost destroyed ourselves. When you're staring extinction in the face, you either adapt or die. We chose to adapt." Meanwhile, Ambassador Minji and Lieutenant Hana had been brought to Earth under arrest. They expected to be treated as prisoners, but instead President Sang-hee received them personally. "You risked everything to prevent a war," the president said. "That takes extraordinary courage. You are not prisoners here. You are honored guests. What about our empire?" Minji asked. "What will you do now?" "We will continue to seek peace," Sang-hee said. "We will share our technology, our culture, our knowledge. We will prove through our actions that we are no threat to the Vrallan Empire." On the flagship, Admiral Daesung and General Taemin watched reports coming in from the surface. Every delegation sent the same message. Humans were peaceful, cooperative, eager to share. They could still be deceiving us, Taemin said, but his voice lacked conviction. I don't think so, Daesung replied. I've been in the military for 40 years. I know what aggressive species look like. These humans aren't it. Then what are they? Daesung thought for a moment. They're what we could have been, if we had faced the same challenges. They nearly destroyed themselves and they learned from it. Maybe we should learn from them too. A message came through from Supreme Chancellor Inho. The council had been receiving reports from the fleet. They wanted an update. Daesung took a deep breath and opened the channel. Chancellor, I am recommending that we establish a formal alliance with Earth. These humans are not a threat. They are potential allies, possibly the most valuable allies we've ever had. There was a long silence. Then Inho spoke. Proceed, Admiral. Begin formal negotiations, and inform Ambassador Minji that she will be leading our diplomatic mission. Her actions, while technically treasonous, were also correct. Tell her she's been pardoned. Daesung smiled. Yes, Chancellor. 6 months later, a new ship launched from Earth's orbital shipyard. It was a joint construction, built with both human and Vralin technology. The crew was mixed, humans and Vralins working together. Dong-hyun stood on the bridge, now wearing the insignia of an official Earth ambassador. Beside him stood Commander Hyun-woo, who had left his post at Sentinel-9 to join this historic mission. Lieutenant Hana was at the weapons station, though the weapons on this ship were purely defensive. Ji-won, the sensor technician who had first detected Dong-hyun's approach, was at her station, monitoring the vast expanse of unexplored space ahead. Ready to launch? Captain Minji asked from the command chair. She had been promoted and given command of this joint vessel. Ready, everyone replied in unison. The ship, named Unity Dawn, engaged its hybrid quantum fusion engines. It leaped forward faster than any Vrelin ship could travel alone, heading toward uncharted space.